Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So Donald Trump coming out with an aggressive new 2024 campaign strategy. How is this exactly going to play out for him? We're going to have to do a little bit of a deep dive and analyze this situation because Donald Trump is saying he's going to make a heavy play for these blue states. And he mentioned 5 states. He mentioned New York. He mentioned New Jersey. He mentioned Virginia, he mentioned New Mexico, and he mentioned Minnesota. And this is a very bold strategy. We've seen polling that has a lot of these states close, even states like New York, which voted for Biden by more than 20 points. We've seen polling that has it within, I believe, like 7 percentage points. And there's no guarantee it's going to be that close at the end of the day. And I'm not entirely sure that Trump is expecting to win all of these states. But it's interesting to see that things are so bad for Joe Biden that Donald Trump is even mentioning them. They're on the table. And we heard rumblings about this before 2016. Trump said he would contest New York, New Jersey, Illinois. Eventually, he really didn't. He didn't focus a whole lot of resources on those states down the stretch. And it's probably a good thing that he didn't because they really weren't all that winnable. And it did distract away from some other potential victories that he ended up getting at the end of the day. But you look at not just the Republican primary polls, because yeah, Donald Trump has a sizable lead there. Ron DeSantis has fallen to 3rd place, ironically enough. But you look at the head-to-head between Trump and Biden. Trump's up in the popular vote. This is nationally. Donald Trump never led Joe Biden nationally leading up to 2020, not once. So the fact that he's up in most, if not all, polling in terms of the whole aggregate by a couple of points proves that it is indeed different this time around. Whatever nonsense they try to throw his way, the indictments, the whole removing him from the ballot stunt, none of this is really working. If anything, it's just helping him out and galvanizing his support even more. And Biden's job approval is in the gutter. His approval rating on inflation, the economy, immigration, crime, foreign policy, he's down not just 16 points, he's down by 20, 30, if not even higher than that on a lot of issues. And a lot of people who do not like Donald Trump's personality or who did not support him during his presidency understand that things have gotten so bad to the point where, yeah, they're going to consider supporting him this time around. And obviously, some of them may not when it's all said and done, but still, enough people defecting would be enough to give Donald Trump an election victory. So when it comes down to something like this, can Donald Trump win some of these states? I mean, if everything goes right for him, yeah, I could see Minnesota. I could see maybe even like New Mexico being close, Virginia, especially because Biden's so hated and you have all these third-party prominent candidates in the running. You have Jill Stein, the Green Party. You have Cornel West, RFK Jr. These people are going to take more votes away from Biden than they're going to take away from Donald Trump. They will. And what that will do is it will help Donald Trump out the same way that certain states like Minnesota, Maine at large, for example, New Hampshire, they were not all that close in 2020, but in 2016, when you had more third-party candidates in the mix, well, that helped Donald Trump out significantly. So this is something that is, I wouldn't say like a high priority that Donald Trump goes out there and makes a play for all these states. But if he does test the waters a little bit, it's not the end of the world. And some people will say, hey, well, this is a horrible strategy. He's taking these states for granted. He thinks that just because there's a poll that has him up by 5 in Michigan, he's going to win Michigan. That's not true. And if that was true, I would be calling it out. And I tweeted out that, yeah, I do believe that Trump is best suited locking down 270 first and then going for these states later. And again, a lot of this is just talk. He's just saying, yeah, I'm going to go for these states and make Biden pour resources into these states and defend these states. I mean, he said things like this, like I said, back in 2016. And he got mixed results. He was 100% right about Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Nobody thought he could win those states. Obviously, he didn't contest Illinois that much or New York, even though he said he would. But Trump also said in the article, I'm going to do rallies and speeches and work them, but that doesn't mean that he's going to work them as hard as he works Pennsylvania, where he's doing very well. And if you look look at the election map, you can see there is some sort of, I guess you would say, similarities. If he's going to rally in, let's say, New Jersey and some of these places, well, if he does a rally in New York or New Jersey up here, that could help him out as well in northeastern Pennsylvania, which is a region that he really needs to improve in, and there's a lot of room for improvement in. So you can talk about this targeted type of rallying. Same thing goes with New Mexico, Texas, Arizona. Same thing arguably for the Minnesota-Wisconsin border as well. So it would just have to be done in a very strategic manner when he does these rallies. And also for down ballot matters. If Trump wants to win and get things done and have a good presidency, you need to galvanize the base enough to win some of these congressional races that are competitive, and they do exist in places like New York, New Jersey, Virginia, New Mexico, Minnesota. They absolutely do, and Donald Trump being on the ballot, he's able to usually carry some of these people, even if he underruns them, because he galvanizes voters to get out and vote who ordinarily wouldn't vote or even vote Republican, but when they vote for him, down ballot, they typically do end up voting Republican. So I don't really see this as a loss just because he's going to be maybe doing a rally here and there. He's still going to work on Pennsylvania. He says he was going to work Pennsylvania hard, and he also went on to mock Joe Biden as Mr. Scranton, as a reference to how the current president regularly references his childhood, because he was seen as Scranton Joe back in 2020, narrowly got Pennsylvania. I don't think he's going to get it this time around. I really don't. And Donald Trump needs not take Pennsylvania for granted. That's the state that is really going to dictate the entire outcome, because if Trump gets Georgia and he gets his 2016 states, all he needs is Pennsylvania. And it seems like because Biden's struggling with black voters that Georgia's probably going to be leaning into Trump's column right now. And it doesn't mean that black voters are voting for Trump. It just means that the turnout rate's not going to be where it was back during 2020. And then you look at Pennsylvania. I mean, you could make the same argument for a place like Philadelphia or Pittsburgh. And yeah, the suburbs in Philly are not really going to be all that Trump favorable. But what he just needs to do is just run it up among white working class voters. And there's a lot of room to grow in northeastern Pennsylvania, which is near New Jersey. It's near New York. So if he holds a rally on the border in each state, it can kind of try and test the waters and also help him out with Pennsylvania as well, and help down ballot Republicans out in these other states that are not red states but could get closer. And if they do get closer, Republicans are going to have more down ballot wins in terms of House races. So yeah, Biden is somebody whose policies a lot of people view as a failure, whether it's the economy, whether it's the border, which is arguably his biggest blunder, whether it's foreign policy, whether it's crime, whatever. People understand that the past 3-4 years have been awful, whereas Trump, his presidency was great in a lot of people's eyes, even people who may not have really realized it at the time. And for the people that still can't stomach Trump, now they have that option. They have the third party option. And that doesn't mean Trump's going to win these states, but they could be closer, like I said. And if he tests the waters, but still doesn't take the other states for granted, it's really not that big of a deal. But like, yeah, you don't want to hold a rally in New York the night before Election Day and you end up losing New York by 20 and you narrowly miss Pennsylvania. Like, yeah, you don't want to do that. But as of right now, we have a year to go and the primaries aren't even over yet. Like, they're over in terms of Trump's ability to win them. We know they're basically a foregone conclusion, but you know, the RNC is not until July. So if he wants to test the waters now, feel free, go for it. But I did want to, before the video is over, look at how feasible each of these states are, because you talk about New York. New York, there have been polls that have it close. Republicans lost it by, I think, like 6 in 2022 at the governor's level, but even the federal races were a lot closer. Chuck Schumer, the electoral juggernaut, he won by like 50 plus or close to that in 2016. 2022, he only won by like 14 against some no-name MAGA guy. So you're looking at that and it's like, yeah, I think the state probably does move right. People are not really happy with the current Democrat leadership in New York, but is it really all that flippable? Probably not. We'll see, but probably not. But like I said, it being more competitive leads to more down ballot wins. New Jersey is a little bit more competitive if you do have that third-party vote share. Depends how well RFK Jr. does. I think he does take more votes away in these two states from Biden than Trump, probably by like a 2-to-1 margin. I think he could pick off some suburbanites because the Kennedy name in the New York area and even down in certain other parts of the Mid-Atlantic, it definitely runs strong. So I think him being on the ballot would help Trump out. But is it going to be by enough to win the state of New Jersey? Probably not. But like I said, down ballot could have some possibly positive effects. And the other states that were mentioned here were Virginia, New Mexico, and Minnesota. Virginia, Youngkin won it. I think the state party's more competent. I think it's going to be a state that is going to be more competitive than 2020. It seems like the growth in Nova's kind of slowing down, and there still is more room to grow for Republicans in the state. But I don't really think that it's all that winnable unless Trump has a really good night. And like I said, it also depends on the third party vote share. If Trump can get like 46, 47% there, and you see a very strong third-party performance, yeah, it's possible, but it's a very big long shot. It's not a top priority. I wouldn't say any of these states are. Minnesota, on the other hand, is a state that has had that history of voting heavily for third parties. We saw that, I think, in 2016, like 10% of the state or close to that went third party, and Donald Trump narrowly lost it. He was almost the first Republican since 1972 to win Minnesota. Even Reagan was not able to win it in his 1984 landslide, although he probably would have if he faced somebody not named Walter Mondale. But 2020, you see those voters coming home. But now if they have the other option and they look towards it, if Biden's not really viewed all that popularly in the Minneapolis area, which he may not be, you don't have the whole BLM thing, at least not now. We'll see what happens leading up towards the election as we get closer, because that definitely galvanized a lot of voters in Minneapolis. Even though it should have, in a real world society that would be functional, it would have galvanized voters to vote for Trump. But it didn't in Minneapolis. But yeah, the rural areas, the Iron Range, maybe Biden could lose more support there. Is it going to be enough? Probably not, but it depends on that third-party vote share. Then you have New Mexico, a big wild card because you have the big Hispanic population there. Polls show Biden losing even more support with Hispanics. So we'll have to see what the end result will be at the end of the day. Depends on if you can get out these low propensity voters, the Hispanic vote, the white working class vote that are moving to the right. If you can get out those voters who would vote Republican, a lot of them did not turn out in 2022. And if you do have the big third-party vote share in the state, which we saw in 2016, but mainly thanks to Gary Johnson, he's not going to be on the ballot this time around. So we'll have to see what takes place in New Mexico. It's possible, but I would say that it's not, like I said, the most likely course of action. These are like the 5 long shots, but the fact that Trump is saying that he's going to make a heavy play, it's a bold statement, it's a bold strategy. Personally, I really think that he's going to spend most of his energy on the big 5 swing states, the Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada as well. I guess you'd have to throw that in there too. Then he would be spending on these states. But the fact that he's just throwing it out on the table, it kind of shows you how bad things are for this current administration. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.